Now I'd like to introduce you to the NI myRIO file system. We'll take a look at 4 different access methods, including the web browser, via a network mapped drive, using the Labview File I OVIs, and then also interactive access via secure shell. All right, let's get acquainted with the file system in general. Here's the myRIO. Here's the real-time target running NI Linux real-time operating system. Also on board, we have a solid-state hard disk drive with 386 megabytes capacity. The USB port can accommodate a flash drive that's formatted using Windows FAT16 or FAT32. Via the PC, we have the USB and wireless connections available. Let's begin with web browser access. When you have myRIO connected through USB, this sets up an Ethernet address 172.22.11.2, and if you browse to that and also add /files, you'll be accessing the myRIO file system. Okay, and the IP address for myRIO on the USB cable, add files. You log in as admin. You'll also want your password. And at this point, you're browsing the file system just like you would browse any location on the web. You can back up by clicking Parent Directory. Temporary directory is a place where you could put files. They do get removed every time that you power cycle the myRIO, however. You can read the files, or you could download files directly from your browser as well. You could say save link as. So again, this is just like browsing any place on the web. Now let's take a look in this area. I'm inserting my USB flash drive, pressing F5 to refresh the browser, and now we can see the contents of the USB flash drive. All right, the second method I'd like to introduce involves setting up the myRIO hard disk drive to look like a drive on the PC. This is a network mapped drive. So you begin by saying map network drive, pick a letter. I'll use R for an abbreviation for myRIO. Use the same IP number that we used for the web access, add /files, and then say connect using different credentials. Wait a few moments here, type in the credentials for the myRIO. All right, now we see the mapped drive appearing down here. Now you'll find initially that things are rather slow. I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about. We can certainly see the file system. In fact, we start to recognize certain places that we had looked at through the web browser, such as the temp folder. But in fact, each one of these operations takes much longer than it appears here because I've edited out the time lags. For example, supposing you want to create a new text document. You wait a long time, maybe upwards of 30 seconds. Say I want to change the name of this. Also, again, dreadfully long. Here's the fix. Go down to the Windows Start button, select Control Panel, pick Network and Internet, and then Internet Options. Look for Connections tab, and then LAN Settings. This is the critical one right here. You want to uncheck Automatically Detect Settings. Let's see how things look now. Let me try creating a new text document. And this is real time. I have not done any editing here at all. So now it's very fast and responsive, just as you would expect. Try the same thing when you insert a USB flash drive. Hit refresh. That is, hit F5. We see a pair of files or file folders have been added. Little u and capital U are the same thing, just two different names for the same folder. probably periodically be prompted for your credentials again to access the file system, but again, you can enter those as needed. And you can then read the files. You could copy the files. So for example, if you had done some data logging and saved files away to the myRIO file system, to download those to your PC, you merely do a standard file copy. Now, most of the file system is protected as read-only. However, you have 3 folders that have read-write permissions. Those are /home/webserve, /home/lvuser, and /temp. And again, the contents of /temp are cleared on a target reset. All right, let's move on to the third method. This is based on using Labview File I sub-VIs. Let's look at the File I/O palette. We have a number of high-level routines here for reading and writing spreadsheets, opening, creating, closing files, reading and writing text files, and some operations for working with paths and folders. Looking under advanced file functions, pretty much anything you want to accomplish with the file system can be done in one way or another. There's a wide variety of tools here for getting things done, such as get volume info or listing folders. Let's work with the write text file for a little bit. I'm going to create a constant for the path. I'll place this in the temporary folder and call the file hello.txt. Let's give this one of the more famous strings for writing your first text file. Go ahead and run. Now let's take a look at our mapped drive. I'll hit F5 to refresh. Also, I'm in the temp folder right now. And right there, hello.txt is the file that we just created. And sure enough, there's the string that we wrote out. Let's try this again. I'm going to create a second version of the file. We'll call this hello again. I'm going to modify the string so we can see that something changed. Go ahead and run. Take a look at the file folder again. And there's the hello again.txt file. Creating text files is pretty easy. Now, suppose you wanted to do some data logging and save the text file away to the USB flash drive. Let me demonstrate this by writing a spreadsheet. I want to create a CSV spreadsheet, and we'll do this in the USB folder, so that begins with /u. You could use capital U or you can use lowercase u. They're the same folder. I'll call this demo log file.csv, which stands for comma separated values. You could write 1D or 2D arrays as data, and these are 2 important options down here, the delimiter and transpose options. I'll get back to that in a second. For comma separated values, we want to have a comma for the delimiter. Let me create a small 1D array so we can see some values being written out. And let me temporarily comment out, so to speak, by disabling this portion of the diagram. Let's run that. Take a look at the file system. Again, I'm looking at the mapped drive where I'm in the U drive or U folder right now. And there's the 4 values that we wrote out. If you'd prefer to have these going along the columns instead of along the rows, simply create a Boolean constant for the transpose terminal right here. Set that to true. And then I'll rerun and open the spreadsheet, and here we see the values column-wise. All right, let's look at the remaining access technique. We'll work directly with the Linux operating system using Secure Shell and the PuTTY Telnet Secure Shell client. As a first step, go to myRIO configuration. Inside your browser, go to the IP number directly, no /file afterwards. You'll be at the system configuration page, look for startup settings, and then enable the secure shell server. Find the save button, and then you'll be prompted to restart the target, and you can take care of that right here. Now I've edited this just a little bit for time in the video, but it's not too bad. Wait for this prompt, simply say do nothing, and then eventually this will finish off. And now the system is, or the myRIO rather, is ready to go. Next, go to www.putty.org, and this is where we can download the open source and freely available PuTTY Secure Shell Telnet client. Here's the version for Windows. You can right-click and choose Save Link As. And here I am in the Windows file browser, and I have the executable. Double-click that to run. Type in the IP address for myRIO. Go with the default port, go with the secure shell setting, and for convenience, I'll go ahead and save this session away as myRIO. That way, when I open PuTTY in the future, I simply double-click myRIO and we're all set. Now here we see an alert regarding the server that is the myRIO host key. Generally, you'd go ahead and just simply click yes, and then you don't have to see that alert again. I'll click no and just do a one-time connect. Log in as admin, enter your password, and now you have a Linux prompt. I can print my working directory, pwd. I can change to a different directory. I'll do cd/temp and then list the contents with ls. I happen to have the USB flash drive still inserted, so I'll go to the flash drive directory, see what we have there. Here I recognize the file that we had created from the Labview VI. You can use more to take a look at the contents of this text file. And there's the 4 values from that array. You can get more detailed listings by using the options -LRT. This says I have a 24-byte file. There's process status, and there's time. These are just some of the examples of Linux commands that you can type in. When you're all done, go ahead and type exit, and that will close the PuTTY connection to myRIO.